Yeah, no, not yet, but welcome. Welcome very much to Conversation. Pleasure. Welcome to the program. An old friend of mine, old friend of communications of a liberating nature and of the world, and that'd be Lenny Charles. And Lenny Charles is the founder and involved in International News Network World Report, which is a major source of programming. And we're going to be talking about that, him, and the state of the world and communications. And Lenny, it's so good to see you again.
Harold, thank you for having me here, but I must correct you.
Okay.
The International News Net, like a big, giant butterfly net that catches the news, the networks won't tell you. Now, International News Network, I'm sure is somewhere out there in the world, but the INN World Report is the International News Net. And on that note, back to you.
What did I say wrong?
International News Network.
Oh, net. I see. It's different. Okay.
Yeah, like a net, like .net, only net. Yeah, that's...
Okay, we got that all straight.
We got that straight. Yeah.
Okay, talk about yourself, okay? Because we've been in touch with each other for decades and all that. But share with us, the audience, your own background a little bit. Born and raised, educated, some of your view, and then we'll get into a serious consideration of communications that you're involved with and understand well.
Well, we'll make the introduction part brief. I'm originally from New Jersey. I was educated at the University of Texas.
Austin?
El Paso.
El Paso, down on the border.
Down on the border, and then I played music professionally for 25 years.
Right,
I have a degree in music. I'm an actual jazz guitar player.
Okay.
Play with a lot of people. And come election 2000, I've been doing it to supplement the music work. I did some music recording. I started a recording studio, so I'd be more involved in the technical end of things.
Right.
And that evolved into video editing.
When did you start that? When did you start?
Oh, it was back in the mid to late 90s. We started.
90s.
Yeah,
okay.
mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
We started doing video editing in the audio recording studio. In an audio recording studio, we're doing independent projects.
Yeah.
And then in the late 90s, we bought some video editing software, and I got very familiar with it. And the next thing I knew, I was editing national commercials for people.
I can remember. When did you get the Walker space?
We ended up with the building we're in right now, Walker Street, downtown, which has been used for many activities.
Right, you are. It's a great venue, yeah.
The IMC down there, and we've had convergence during the convention, the Republican National Convention. It's been used for so many things. We got that space in the late 90s.
Late 90s, okay.
Well,
great space. Yeah.
All of a sudden, here comes election 2000, and everybody who was active back in the 60s, who was anti-war, who, still felt somewhat politically active. They were just so alarmed and so frightened. We felt that, well, myself and Tom Conley that started the show, we felt we had to do something. And instead of picking up a stick or a rock or a protest sign, we decided to start a news network.
Right, I can remember.
And so that's the evolution from being a jazz guitar player, performing around the city and going on tour, into then becoming a television producer. It went by way of editing, by way of digital editing. By way of being a digital editor and doing that as a side job, and then having these skills, and then having the need for actual reporting, real reporting, what actually happened, not what the networks told you happened. So we got into this model of what happened and what the network said happened, and we had an opportunity to go out there and share with people what we actually saw in that perspective of the world.
Yeah, and you got way ahead of the curve in terms of understanding the technology, the coming digitization and all that sort of thing. And I can remember, it goes back a long time and everything, but when Amy was getting going, you were helping her get a stream going or something by doing a feed or something to somebody, and you understood what was involved to have outreach. And I remember you helping and putting things up for her before she was the star that she is today.
We don't like to use words like star, however.
Well, it's true. Yeah, she's like a star, don't you think? But anyway, go ahead.
No, I think she's like a darn good journalist. The word star, I think, should be reserved for Barbara Streisand, and I don't see much similarity.
Okay.
However, in the world of journalism, she certainly plays an important role, and everybody agrees with that. But when she was, let's just say, as part of what I call the Pacifica Wars, when she was removed from Pacifica by Utrice Lead a long time ago, she was holed up in the Firehouse studio around the time of 9/11. She was broadcasting in exile, doing an internet-style or an ISDN internet-style broadcast, and being picked up by many Pacifica affiliates. Someone came up with the brilliant idea and a small satchel full of money, saying, let's put some cameras on this. And so for the first year or so, it was a building operation for her over at the Firehouse, and we worked much more closely with her. She would tape the show. She'd run it 2 or 3 blocks away over to our studio. We would encode it into MPEG digital format, and then we would send it directly to Free Speech TV,
right,
which is how we got involved with Free Speech TV as the carrier or the deliverer of the MPEG-2 file via the internet to their server so that it could be played.
Okay,
we would create MPEG-2s in some of our technology. We actually create, they were DVD MPEG-2s, but they also would stream from a streaming video server, which is essentially what Free Speech TV, the parent station on Dish Network, would host. They would host these MPEG-2 files, and so we would FTP this huge MPEG-2 file to Free Speech every day in the morning, and in the afternoon they would air the television version of Democracy Now!, which was at that time
new.
It was new, but at the time it was still primarily a radio show.
With the
cameras,
it came out of Pacific.
with the cameras pointing at Amy. She'd be reading the New York Times today in the world.
And well, she was news director when Dan Coughlin was there at Pacifica. And then they thrown out. They came back in, and it came out of Pacifica.
And then the name, the franchise, the franchise Democracy Now! Was then privatized and bought by Amy. I believe she's the owner of Democracy Now! It used to be a Pacific entity, and now it's a private company, so to speak, that licenses out to a lot of the different networks.
A lot of the networks around the world, and is off to the races, and you helped her. It was good you did. You were able to do that. And you threw up something, Free Speech TV. It might be worth mentioning that now. You said file transfer protocol, I heard it also. But you were there understanding what was involved technologically to get a thing going. And Free Speech TV, maybe you could talk about that because a lot of people won't know, and I know you've had an association with it, and it's worth noting, no?
Well, it's worth noting in that after providing over 600 hours of programming, 600 hours of news, alternative news, foreign news, and certainly independent news that we've been putting together into the I&M World Report for over 7 years. We've been delivering it to Free Speech TV. Well, we delivered Amy, and then we got to meet everybody at Free Speech, and we said we'd like to do a new show also.
Was Brian Drolet there then?
Oh, Brian Drolet, yes. Brian Drolet's still around.
Great guy,
He was instrumental in getting us on the network, saying that these guys have a good idea. And after some pilots, we got on Free Speech TV first for a couple of years as a weekly news and review. And then beginning with the Republican National Convention here in New York, we started broadcasting daily. We got a hold of some satellite equipment. We got an FCC license, and we're one of the only downtown licensed FCC broadcast facilities in New York.
It's all going out of Walker Street.
Yeah, we've got a big dish on the roof.
You got one of the big dishes?
Big dish. Broadcast dish.
But Free Speech TV itself, as an entity, is worth mentioning because it's an independent channel. It's an independent system of satellite-connected distribution, and it's worth noting because most of those systems are owned and operated by the major communications communications corporations.
Well, just like in the world, just like the battle we're all having with cable access, saying that there has to be a certain amount of bandwidth or a certain number of channels assigned or relegated or given to alternative or public interest or public access. In the world of satellite, it's public interest, and way up on the dial, on the Dish Network dial, and way up on the dial on also DirecTV, a little possession of Rupert Murdoch.
That's Murdoch now,
Way up there on the dial, these public interest channels, some of them are religious, many are educational, and Free Speech TV falls into the educational parameter. So they're a public interest channel on Dish Network. And
does that have an assigned transponder on a particular communication satellite now? Is it Telstar, or which one is on it? Does it matter? Doesn't matter, huh?
It's EchoStar 1, 2, and it's
EchoStar,
It's on the Dish Network 500 system. It's available in, I don't know, 11 million homes or something, whatever it is.
Does it make a difference? So you said way up on the dial. Does it make a difference where that alternate system is placed in terms of the outreach?
It's just a channel. No, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. Okay.
Dish Network, it's not a big moneymaker for Dish, but it's part of their commitment, just like Time Warner here in town has a commitment to air access television.
Right, okay.
Dish Network or EchoStar has a commitment to air their equivalent of public access, or what they call public interest stations. And Free Speech TV fits into that. They've got a license. They're a not-for-profit. They have a license to air content.
Okay, how many do we have a whole lot of networks. We have all the networks, and we have the Sky TV and all that. The networks and the satellite is a way of of transmitting. How many systems are there existent within the telecosm, as George Gilder would say, in terms of satellite communications and transponders that can make it possible, and how many of them are owned by the corporate media, how many are there in the interest or able to be utilized by, let's say, public access or alternative programming, from your understanding?
Percentage-wise, slightly above zero.
So, a little above zero. Well,
yeah,
it's good.
Available for public interest. It's above zero, not below zero.
Why
that's
is there not more, if I could ask, as a follow-up in a way?
How could I do this without using my sense of New York sarcasm?
Oh, okay. Use sarcasm by all means.
It's all business. Many of these are military satellites. They're owned and operated by the government for military communications, of course. And many of them are business. There are commercial transport satellites. We get to free speech. We did get to free speech by using a commercial backhaul transport satellite. It simply means it's free to air. Anybody with a
checkbook.
You don't need a checkbook. You need a satellite receiver. Anybody with a satellite receiver that's pointed at the satellite that we're on, which was Galaxy 18, could receive our show long before the people on free speech could get it.
Would that include cable head ends around the country and so forth?
Certainly, yes.
So they could link them up as the same way they do the home box office, right?
Yeah, and that's and actually that's the way that they're getting. A lot of them are getting Democracy Now! Because second generation signal degradation. So when you see INN World Report or even perhaps Democracy Now! On M&N, you're getting a second generation broadcast.
Is that right?
Will see the image quality will not be as good as the image quality that people will see right now being broadcast from your studio, because we'll record it in New York or create it in New York. We'll send it up on the satellite. Colorado will pick it down. They'll send it up to Wyoming. Wyoming will send it up. Somebody in Kansas, let's say a cable access system in Kansas, will bring it down. They'll tape it and they'll rebroadcast it. Well, it's gone up and down at least 2 times. It's been compressed and expanded several times, and you get signal loss. Whereas when we broadcast it from the studio, it would have a much higher quality before it's taken down, recompressed, expanded, sent up again, et cetera, before it goes through the degradation process. So anyway, as far as numbers of satellites, there are hundreds of satellites. These are
geosynchronous,
These are commercial ventures, just like in the cab business. If you own a fleet of cabs, each one of those cabs is to make money with. Each of these satellites, except for the military ones, are to make money for someone. And they sell the frequencies and sell the use in a commercial way.
Yeah, a lot of people in the Henry George School would think those things should be owned by the public. The airwaves should be, but that would be another asset.
That would be another country, I believe. In certain socialist countries, I believe they would do things like that. The government would, and then different model. But there are thousands and thousands of satellites up there. There's a lot of room in the sky. And
it's getting crowded.
It's getting crowded. Some come down, new ones go up. But it's simply a means of transport. It is, in many parts of the world, satellite is the primary means of getting your television. So over Europe, you've got little dishes all over the roof. You don't see too many in New York.
Used to have to be 9 meters to get a thing. Back in the real old days.
Now we call them pizza pie dishes.
Yes, right. Well, that's why you can have a business model with DirecTV, and they can deliver straight to the home by satellite.
But Dish Network and DirecTV are corporate businesses.
Of course, I understand.
And they are mandated to give out a certain number of frequencies to public interest, and very intuitive and wise entrepreneurs, socially conscious entrepreneurs like John Schwartz that started Free Speech TV. And also Amy Goodman, when she sees the opportunity of going up on...
She grabs it,
She sees that opportunity and she uses it.
She's on DirecTV now.
Through another network, through Link TV. But they'll take these opportunities, they'll seize upon them, and then hopefully try to do some good with them.
Right.
Okay, hopefully we'll try to
Well, that's what the alternative media is about, in a way. And when
I don't know about in a way. That's what it is about, because everybody I know, all the hundreds of independent journalists and first-hand investigative reporters that use the media to get their information out really believe in what they're doing. These people are very sincere. They know the difference between right and wrong, and they're using every opportunity. And they're not only using the internet, but they're still using satellite television and cable access to get out information they feel that is the most important information.
Yeah, you bring up the satellite. I mean, you bring up the computer. We can go there. I want to go back and say I can remember back about 1972 when they went from home box office was a major business model for cable. That's what built cable, was the movies. That was the big product, and Gerald Levin was the chairman there. And I remember doing a program. They used to have to send, they had 2-inch high beam tapes. They're like 35 millimeter tapes. They had to bicycle them to each head end across the country to get the movies onto home box office. And they had just set up Telstar. That was the first thing. And they were able to connect it by a satellite transponder to a dish. They were happy as kids with a toy that they could be able to do that and get it around. And it was presaging what has come now. But onto the satellite, onto the computer now. We got the computer, we got YouTube, we got all this stuff going on. How does that nest with our inherited institutions that you've been so involved with in terms of getting distribution and so forth? What does it mean in terms of cable? What does it mean in terms of the distribution systems that we inherited out of history that's perhaps being transformed? It seems to me like everything's going to be on the internet in a certain sense. It seems to be all moving that way. How do you read all that?
And what does it mean to Apple TV? You might look at it that way, too.
Okay, they're true.
The concept is media on demand. I remember a long time ago, there was an advertisement for Quest Communications. As you recall, they're the whistleblowers that pretty much revealed the fact that the NSA had started wiretapping 9 months before.
National Security Agency.
Yes, that the NSA had begun the wireless and the warrantless wiretapping program 9 months before 9/11.
Okay.
The Bush administration had gone to Denver, had gone to Quest Communications and said, we want to go ahead and begin randomly wiretapping your citizens 9 months before 9/11. Quest legal department refused, and it all came out in a lawsuit because the government said, okay, you don't have to do this. However, we're going to pull all of your other lucrative contracts with the government. Therefore, no business for you. Quest, of course, took a serious hit financially, and they sued the government. In testimony, it came out from Joseph P. Naccio, Quest Communications head, that the government had approached him 9 months before 9/11, or 10 months before 9/11, with this plan to eavesdrop on U.S. citizens without a warrant. So when the government says, well, we had to do that because of 9/11, you can use a 8-letter word and it starts with bull, unless I got the letters wrong.
No, I understand.
Okay, you understand. So this has been, this model's been going on. But Quest Communications, back to the original thing, there was a great commercial. This older gentleman walks into a motel, and there's a young perky thing behind the counter. He says, do you have movies? And she says, any movie,
oh, I remember.
Any language. His eyes open up wide.
At any time.
At any time, yes. And what they're really trying to say was this was the model. They said ride the light was the slogan. But the model was media on demand. This is the first full bandwidth media on demand.
Okay.
Well, right now there are things on, if you even look at Hulu, which is such a big thing in the internet, this is what Quest was advertising and bragging about, 12 years ago, or 10, something like that. Maybe it was 11 years ago. It was way back then. And they had created this this downloadable model. Now, in order to, if you want to see a full bandwidth DVD, you go to the site, you pay the licensing fee, you download it. It's on your computer. You can watch it and purge it. You can watch it and burn it into a DVD. It is a way of getting the I like to say the file. It's a media file.
Everything's a file,
a document or file. It's a matter of getting the file to you. Well, right now we have television. They're using the same technologies, larger file formats. MPEG-2 is being eclipsed by some of the more modern codecs, that the evolution of the codec, which is
MPEG?
Compression. Well, they could be, but compression decompression is what codec is. Understanding the latest versions of this technology, which of course eclipsed the old MPEG-2 model, the early digital stuff, and television stations are using the same thing. So it's almost become a generational thing. The problem with media on demand and the internet is it goes from being a needle in a haystack to being, your content becomes a very small needle in a humongous haystack.
Yeah, well, they're coming out with these things now, and they got it down to where the multimedia is morphing to the cell phone. Right? I mean, it seems to be it's morphing to the cell phone, and they're going to be able to make television with that, and you're going to end up with 6 billion television channels that are going to make a whole lot of programming content. If they're all uploading it and so forth, it seems to be going
6 billion could equal infinite very soon.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Everyone has their own channel, but what does this do for the commercial world? It means everyone's competing at equality in entertainment interest. News is now entertainment. We've got to get back to news here before too long.
Not long, but pretty quick, because I know that's what your main concern
That's why we're here today.
Yeah,
and,
right.
You've got this needle in a haystack, and now people are competing for advertising dollars. When you had 4 networks, if your advertising is going with the Super Bowl, obviously it's going for millions of dollars a minute. Okay.
Right.
Now, if you're advertising on a little tiny internet show, you're probably going to get 2 or 3 cents every time it airs for your advertising. So the advertising numbers have certainly gone down for that in the commercial model.
A lot of models are being questioned. The newspaper, the New York Times is in trouble. The newspaper industry is in trouble in terms of the subsuming of so much of what was media by this emerging, internet phenomena. It would seem, no? Or maybe I'm off base just reading normal press.
No, I don't think you're off base. I think that their New York Times financial report will probably, actually, it'll most assuredly back up your insight here on this. Back to this internet thing. The internet will continue to grow, and it will continue. But now you've got something like YouTube limiting content to 7 minutes. So if you want to watch 10 minutes?
I think it's 10.
Oh, well, that's good. No problem then.
Oh, no problem. You got that 3 seconds.
It used to be, it used to be you could find a documentary online. Now you've got Google censoring. You've got them pulling documents off. There are so many things about 9/11 that just one day aren't there, and people are archiving on their own private servers and reposting, and Google's pulling it down, and the old longer videos are being pulled down. Not
Why
just
are
on
they
9/11.
pulling them down? Why are they censoring? Why are they doing that?
I know
they did with China in order to get get in, and Yahoo did and everything for political reasons. But why are they doing that, taking that idea of where's you...
It's all for political reasons,
Okay,
Harold.
okay. Good to understand.
Well, I don't know. You could look at Jane Harmon's homegrown terrorism model, and you could say, we don't want this kind of stuff up there on the internet. It's it's going to frighten people. You've got Alex Jones out of Texas, and then you've got a little old mass murderer who was quoting Alex Jones, in his emails a few days before he went on a shooting spree. That got Alex a couple of spots on Fox News, but I don't think it did much for his career overall. This stuff is very influential. It could be classified as homegrown terrorism, inciting the public to do something.
Active.
We don't want the public to do something. We want the public to consume.
Buy. Yeah, that's right. They are.
In Noam Chomsky's model, the manufacturing consent model, hi, we're here to... Wait a minute. What do you mean I'm the product? Okay, you're the product. Okay, it's okay. I got that. Sorry, what shall I do? Get a credit card and do something right. What do you mean?
Buy.
Spend, buy.
Yeah, buy. Very good. Go shopping,
Go shopping. And if you're doing and not shopping, you're not doing the right thing.
Okay.
After 9/11, George Bush told us exactly what we should do. Go shopping.
Yeah, he did, as a matter of fact, because that's the demand. They got to get the demand.
I did my best. I went out and bought some video equipment and,
Yeah, you've been doing great. You really have. You've been on the cutting edge, and I take my hat off to you and everything. And you had your program of INN. We got to get to the word.
We got to get to INN.
One last thing, quick, before we consider all this. The world economy's been hit upside the head like a mule down Missouri with a 2x4 by this economics meltdown and that kind of thing that's happened now. Any change going to be coming out of that, or can you see change that might be coming that would be more favorably inclined toward alternative and maybe really life-supportive and important information that's been concealed within the business model or the ideology of our establishment figures within the political, business, and communications process?
Harold, the question is much too long for me.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Let's see if I can get it, though. Do I know anything more than the next guy? Nope, no. Not a thing.
Well, you've been there right on the edge. If you were helping Amy, go ahead,
Well, no, but what I could tell you what I sense, but I really don't. I could tell you what I'd like to see. I'd like to see people getting more involved in their own destinies and not taking their money and putting it into giant funds in corporate portfolios, and therefore it gets Ponzi'd out, a la Madoff, and we're experiencing something similar with another case with our building in Morgan.
You are yourself personally. Yeah, we can talk to that.
I'm more interested in the show, but it's the next best thing to Madoff, and it's all over the internet what happened to us. But we're surviving, and I certainly hope.
Yeah, I hope so. It's a major institution.
What people are saying, we had on. I can quote somebody who knows a lot more than me, Catherine Austin Fitts.
Oh yeah.
And she was Undersecretary of Housing during the Reagan administration. Her model is this. Don't think locally, act locally. If you have money, invest in something in your community.
Okay.
Whether it's a convenience store, a gas station, a hardware store, take the power away from the big box, take the power away from Walmart, take the power away from Wall Street, put it into your community, and that, you'll have your hands on it, you'll be able to see it, and you'll be able to grow with it or fail with it, but it becomes yours, or whereas next thing you know, you call your broker up and his line's turned off. That's a bad sign. That's been happening a lot to Americans.
Yeah, it has.
So the way to rebuild is to be actively involved in your life, not take your nest egg give it to some corporate monster who's going to go ahead and tell the next administration to start a war on some poor unsuspecting.
Yeah, she encourages that, local. She had the ice cream cone thing where you can walk. It used to be you could walk to the store and get your ice cream cone, be perfectly safe coming back to children. And now you can't do it. You used to be investing in the local situation. Yeah,
the local thing, and so that's the way I see it. I'm not a. I look at Wall Street as a crime spree right now. I look at these people who do nothing but invest money, and then try to pull profits. The nature of profit. The nature of profit. And in this country with loans, what's become the nature of usury. I couldn't look at it any other way. At what point does it become...
Usury used to be against the law, and somehow it got around it. I mean, in all the wisdom schools, it was it was to
What's
be something
the point number
for
usury?
Pardon?
What's the point number for usury? 25%? Look at your credit card. 29%.
No, I say we've gotten around
35%, 42% compounding. What about the loans they give to poor GIs, the paycheck loans? When they get their paycheck, 200% to pay, some incredible number.
Yeah, we've gotten around the proscription against usury that's written into most all the wisdom schools historically coming out of the religious traditions.
All
and so
the power has gone to the lending institutions.
Yeah, right.
Americans who got involved in so many of these mortgages have gotten foreclosed on. They were given one choice: you need money, you're in a bind, take the loan.
Don't read the fine print.
Well, the fine print doesn't matter. You read the you needed the money so bad you take a loan anyway.
Right.
Next thing you know, the payment comes due at subprime. Your payment jumps from $600 a month to $1,800 a month. You can't make it. You fall behind.
That's it.
It keeps going up at subprime. And then these become easy pickings. Problem is the market's gone so far down that those that invested in it, and then the idea of a bank loaning you money, wow, that's great. A loan broker loans you money, then he sells the debt to a debt collection service that owns the debt, and the actual asset is owned by some company that holds assets. Hopefully it won't go down.
When Capone and company were fighting for territory in the north in Chicago, they used to have it divided up among the
heads of the family.
The heads of the families in order to who had protection agency and various places, sort of like that. But okay, and also now we can get into the political, because I heard you say you thought that the Wall Street is this, and you have a tendency to see things in political, and you report politically, and you report on alternative things in a very real. The program is so good, the content of the program, and the thing you do particularly is so good. You are so good at talking with major figures on major issues and presenting information. And you're doing it in such a way that is so pointed and so meaningful that it's very rare that you find anything like what you're able to do at INN on, let's say, our major networks in terms of showing the seamy side or the side of the established system. And that's your political take on things, and it's the thing you're able to present.
Thank you, Harold, but let's change one word in that.
Okay, change the word. What? It is.
Was. We're not on the air anymore.
What do you mean? Wait a minute. Talk. Okay, go on. Talk. Yeah.
Harold, INN World Report went off the air a month ago. That's why I'm here to talk about it.
Okay, good.
That's why we're in the studio.
Okay, good.
Why is INN World Report no longer broadcast?
You're not on MNN in the morning now?
We're not on nothing in the morning.
Okay, talk
about
off.
What
happened? Why? We used to see every morning here and other places, and you were on Free Speech TV going
and
out.
we were on more than 200 cable access stations.
200 cable access across the country.
We are not on the air.
Okay, what happened? Why? What happened?
Well, it had to do with a little disagreement with Free Speech TV. They're doing a little gangster thing over there, I have to say.
Oh, God, that's one of the little slivers of a little candle of hope for something for alternative. They're playing the gangster role.
They're playing the gangster role.
Yeah, okay.
How can you? Oh, we have to talk a little bit of laundry here. We have been the evening news for Free Speech TV for 5 years now. It would have been 5 years next month.
Congratulations on that.
Well, here's the thing. At the end of 5 years, Free Speech doesn't pay us. But they certainly pay Amy Goodman a whole lot of money. And she deserves it.
Yeah.
But they don't pay us a penny.
Okay. Why? What's the difference?
I guess she's a star, like you said. But that doesn't really matter. That's okay. She does good work.
Is it all just rated on eyeballs or something, or ratings?
No, there is no rating. Harold, you have to
help me out. I'm trying
to set this straight for our viewers out there that don't see us every morning, that hopefully will see me on your show and at least understand why they don't see me every morning.
Yeah, and we get some support. And you got an action plan or something, and we'd like to get some support in your corner.
You have to understand what's going on, how we got to this point. they air us at, they aired us at 6:30 in the evening. Now M&N, because of their schedule problems, couldn't air us till 7:30 in the morning.
Okay, yeah.
That's a pretty good time for the East Coast. But on California, you see, with Dish, it only broadcasts
in the morning. Yeah.
No, in California, it's 3:30 in the afternoon. Then they would run Democracy Now's third rerun. Then they would run Laura Flanders' GRITtv, a very good show, which I enjoy.
Yeah.
They'd run her show. Then they'd run a documentary or two. Then they'd run Amy's show, and they'd run Laura's show again. Then they'd put us at 2 in the morning. Well, but we're the evening news.
But 2 in the morning is in one time zone is 8 in the. I mean, it's around the world. It's carried around. No, it's just that's the United States.
You got to
North
understand
America.
this. Even
Help
that time for the
not
West Coast is way too late.
So you're only looking at America. You're not looking at a world distribution.
Harold, what I'm saying is Free Speech TV would not pay us. They would not do revenue sharing. And though for all you viewers out there, when Amy Goodman sells a DVD, she keeps a piece of that money. And that's how she supports and does such a good job. By a financial model which helps her survive. And I have no problem with that until we're blocked from raising money. It takes a lot of money to...
Why are you blocked?
You have to ask Free Speech that. They will not do revenue sharing.
They
will do revenue sharing with Democracy Now! They will not do revenue sharing with anyone else. Why they do that? We've asked them, but how do we raise money? So, okay, you're not going to allow revenue sharing. They'll go ahead and give her $250,000.
Revenue sharing out of what they realize through what? How do they get their revenue? Is it advertising on the side?
Harold.
Or I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand.
Pledge drives.
Pledge drive. Okay. Right,
Free Speech TV will do a pledge drive.
Right.
They will sell products. They will sell DVDs. They will sell books. They will sell T-shirts, coffee cups, buttons, anything else they can sell.
Yeah, Laura had a piece on here, and she was selling product like that, like Eddie, like Crazy Eddie.
Not allowed
and they took it off Manhattan Network. They stopped the program airing because it was a pitch.
My point is, when Free Speech would do pledge drives to raise money for free speech, Amy Goodman would sell product and keep a percentage of the money.
Okay.
That's one of the ways that she is able to keep her organization going.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of money to have a staff and to produce a news show.
Right.
It takes more money for her than us, but it still takes money.
And distribution,
Well, distribution comes too, but my point is that she is allowed revenue sharing. We're not allowed revenue sharing. They give her a subsidy of $250,000, give or take. We're given nothing. They air her 4 hours a day. We're given 3.5 hours, and 2 of them are in very poor spots to where the West Coast cannot see our show. The West Coast, or the left coast as they call it, is where all of our financial support has come from. If the people that give us money cannot see our show, how do we raise money? So we told Free Speech, we don't want your money. We want an airing time that the people on the West Coast that support INN World Report can see the show in prime time, can get involved with the show. We take phone calls from viewers. We get little checks from viewers. We get emails from them constantly, and most of those come from the West Coast. Our 2 biggest areas are Northern California and Phoenix. Those are the people that send money. Well, all of a sudden, we're on in the middle of the night, even for the West Coast. We're on 11 o'clock at night. Well, that's not the worst time, but they're airing us, Amy and Laura, then they're airing us. And I said, look, you're airing us, Amy and Laura, repeat the sequence. INN, Democracy Now!, GRITtv. What a great combination. 3 real daily news shows. Great. Air them again starting at 11:30 at night, which would be 8:30 for the West Coast. The people that pay us, the people that like our show, the ones that send the checks so that we can be here tomorrow, will be able to see the show. I said, you're not giving us money. You're not doing revenue sharing when we raise money for you with our name. We'll raise money for Free Speech TV. If we don't get any of it. Well, just to help them. That's okay. We like helping them. So don't give us money. Don't do revenue sharing.
Give us an airtime.
Give us a prime time air slot where the people
we can
that support
breathe.
the shows. And we got an email back from them saying that no, and we understand that this will cause you a fundraising hardship. Why don't you take a vacation? Why don't you take a hiatus? I'm going, what, are you kidding? This is squeezing us off the air. This is censoring us off the air. You're not going to pay us. You're not going to do revenue sharing with money that we raise for you, and you're not going to give us a primetime slot on the West Coast where our viewers are that send us money so we can stay in there. Instead, your recommendation is, why don't you take a hiatus? That tells me they don't want the show.
Okay, right.
So I told them, goodbye.
Hard to do. You've been there for a long time. You were a pioneer.
The phone started ringing off the hook. The phones at Free Speech TV started ringing off the hook.
When they took it off?
Yeah, we did this as we got hundreds of phone calls.
Okay.
We got a few checks in the mail from core supporters.
Yeah.
We had articles written on the internet all over the place. People were angry that this show went off the air. But
yeah, it was really good, yeah.
Well, it's not off the air.
No, it was good. Your program was really good.
You're using the word was. We'll talk about the future soon.
Okay, good. Yeah.
So the show is now off the air because Free Speech TV was not supporting the show. They'd allow it to air, but why wouldn't they give it a prime slot, a prime time slot for the West Coast, when the support is on the West Coast? It didn't cost them anything. It's merely a scheduling change. Instead, they choose to air the show the following day when the news is 20 hours old.
Oh, yeah, you're on a news cycle. Yeah, right. Yeah.
20 hours old.
A lot of things you do have legs.
Are time sensitive.
No,
yeah, they have
no,
like
they're
some
not.
of the
There are some things that are time sensitive.
So why would you do this?
A lot of the things you do are editorially, not just only time sensitive, but they've got meaning that has grit.
You have to understand, either the show is a very good show, which people have told me, or it's a vanity show. We don't believe it's a vanity show. We've gotten too much support
You're
for
looking
the show.
at issues, and you look at issues in real depth and really issues that have real
free
meaning.
Speech. Why would Free Speech TV run Democracy Now! 4 hours a day at 6, 12, 6, and 12?
Well, is it because Amy is a superstar? Like Tiger Woods is a super golfer or something, and that's the model the networks use.
If Amy is a superstar, is it because of the news she breaks or the interview she does?
I don't know. The overall combination of the fact, and do they have numbers to people? I don't know.
Wait a minute, but how?
Do they measure like Arbitron or something? So they have numbers they can build, but like the rest of the media industry.
So are you telling me that she's doing news that someone else isn't doing, that we're not doing?
I don't know.
Is she having guests on that we're not having on? Or even Laura Flanders, for that matter?
Yeah.
We're all doing the same work.
It's Air America, is she? Did she come out of Air America?
No, she's doing GRITtv for Free Speech.
Oh, okay.
Harold,
yeah.
Alternative news and trying to get this message out.
Yeah, right.
Is supposed to be a level playing field. We're not supposed to see an unlevel playing field. We're not supposed to see favorites. We're doing our best. Everyone out there, including Amy, is doing their best in trying to get these stories out there, trying to educate people and trying to get people to see the reality, how the rest of the world sees it. She's doing very good work. I'll always say that about her. No problem there.
Yeah.
The people at Free Speech TV are willing to run her every 6 hours, and they're willing to basically backburner us and not support our show.
Okay, why?
We could not continue.
Why?
Of the
dozens, what is it there that's
of
in
the
there
dozens
thinking?
and dozens of phone calls
Yeah.
that viewers and investigative journalists and other people made to Free Speech TV, no one got a straight answer. They could not say it. We don't believe it's censorship.
What do you think? You're thinking it through. What do you think is the reality behind the thinking of the board or the people who are responsible for that? Is it, I mean...
Their head of program said he didn't want to.
Okay.
Just didn't feel like it.
Okay.
Didn't think it was in his network's best interest to give us a good West Coast time slot.
Their best interest.
So what they're saying, the model they're making is that it is better for Free Speech TV to lose, because I gave them a deadline. I said, look, we have a month to resolve this. We like being on your network. Our viewers like us being on your network. We have 1 month to resolve this. If it isn't resolved, we're going to pull the show.
Okay, what do they do? What are they putting up there in place of your show? I mean, what are they doing? Are they just,
I don't know.
They canceled your contract, so then they put Sid Caesar on or something.
These aren't
like
contracts.
The networks, you know.
These aren't contracts.
Not contracts, but they're arrangements. So what are they putting in the place of an alternative? What are they doing? Are they saying maybe they want something else, something different, something youthful? I don't know. What's their philosophy? Do they put it up? What is their philosophy in terms of the programming content that they want to have distributed on their network?
I know that since we left...
Their business model even, for that matter.
I don't think it's that good, but I don't. You'd have to call them. What I would encourage people to do, if they liked INN, is to find out why, and get back to you or to get back to me, and find out what is the real reason, other than we feel like it, that it was more important to lose INN World Report on free speech. And by losing it on free speech, there are now 200 cable access stations around the country, including MNN, that no longer get INN.
Because they got it from free speech.
They got it through free speech. Why was it so important for free speech to run and rerun again documentaries versus having a daily news show? Why is that so important? Why did free speech's business model say that let's have another rerun of Democracy Now! or another rerun of a documentary that we've been running all month versus having the evening daily news show? Why was that so important? We have not been given an answer. Why it was better to lose the show instead of, you know, having a rerun of something which you've already seen 50 times. We're providing 200 hours of content a year. No, I'm sorry, I made that mistake. We're providing 100 hours of fresh content a year. 30 minutes a day, 52 weeks, a couple of weeks off for vacation.
It was getting really good. It was just getting better all the time.
And you know what? It may again. We may have to look for a new network, and we may go back on free speech.
Why is there not another network? Why is it so limited where there are venues for the distribution of alternative programming in a world where so much of the world is looking for alternatives rather than the steady drumbeat of just it melds right into the corporate media? Do you think? I mean, I'm just thinking maybe outside the envelope or something like that. Why is there so little, and why isn't there in the competitive model?
It's a business. Well, because of the business model.
I mean,
what
it could be a business model built upon something alternative rather than the normal, because the normal has really been hit upside the head.
You do have alternatives. You have things.
What?
You have
like
things
what?
like you have things like Current TV. You have things like IFC. You have things like Comedy Central. These essentially are what you call mainstream alternatives. What they've got is bushels of money and investors. If you think about the Air America model, let's get a whole bunch of people who believe in a better world, a greener world. Let's get their advertising dollars, and let's get some people to talk really fast on the radio and support them. They were top heavy.
Or put a camera in front of them.
Well, either the same thing. So radio or television, same idea. They did that in the commercial world, and they found out it didn't work. I think that the Rush Limbaughs of the world and the Bill O'Reillys had a lot more money and production value behind them, and they got a lot bigger sponsors and advertisers and were able to garner a larger audience or audience share, and that the necessary money, in my opinion, Air America was top heavy, but that's a personal opinion. That means too many people in the office, not enough people on air. But in either case, too many
Air
people.
America is not functioning now, or it is?
I don't know enough, but I don't believe that I don't believe their financial model is making Mark Green too much money. I think it's a mercy killing kind of a thing.
They used to have
it takes a certain amount of money to run an organization. We have crafted, INN has crafted a plan to where we can do 100 hours of broadcast television as long as the studio's donated, as long as we have free space. We can do that for $100,000 a year in salaries, and I'll work for free, and we'll just keep doing the show. We couldn't raise that, and that was the problem. Whereas if you think about a commercial model, and you've got full accounting packages that have to go with it. You've got full bookkeeping. You've got a full clerical staff that has to support that. Plus, you've got the talent, and everybody has to be paid a living wage. They all have to have insurance. That takes millions of dollars every year.
401k considerations.
The golden parachute.
Yes, right. The whole ball of wax,
If you're not doing this out of passion, like most of the people we worked with, you need that to keep going. That would be a business model. On the other hand, you've got all the Raed Gerards of the world. You've got all the Sammy Habibs. You've got all the Raed Omars. These are people living in Gaza who reported on the war from their cell phones to the bombings. Around that. That's Sammy Habib or Mohammed Omar, the 22-year-old journalist who was beaten up by the Israelis. He would report on his cell phone to us after an incident happened in Gaza.
He could do
These are people that so much believed in what they were doing, they didn't want money. They needed to get the story out. And what independent journalism is people that believe so much in helping and trying to make a better world, they're willing to do it for free. You've got that going on here.
Is that getting to be something that can be meaningful in terms of broad mass communication, or not?
Harold, you answered your own question.
I'm not sure.
If we had the money to air it, if MNN was a news channel, for example, let's say MNN turned this whole world upside down, and that was a news desk, and that was a news desk, and those were journalists over there, and you had some field reporters out here and a camera crew going out and coming in, and this was the main news set, and here we are, the evening news with Harold Channer. And
well, that would be a focus of a news thing in that, but this has got all kinds of different kinds of people doing all kinds of things, then putting it out, but it's just putting it out on the internet.
But my point is, then you have a voice. What you're doing is all the Prometheus, the radio project, and all the Pacifica affiliates, and all the low power FMs, Prometheus thing, and all the internet radio people. Every one of them believes in causes and issues, and the best way to get those out is to have a platform. MNN is a platform. Free speech is a platform. Okay, then you have then you've created a stage or a platform for people to get out issues. They're willing to come for free, most of them. Here's your model. It is so important that we know about the Israeli violations in Gaza. It is so important that we know about the latest plan to bomb Iran. It is so important that we know about what happened in Fallujah, thanks to Dar Jamal, that happened in all these places. It is so important that we understand why the Somali pirates are out there doing this. So important that this information get out as soon as possible. We'll do it for nothing. And by the way, could you pass the hats so that we can at least keep the lights on? You know, these people. Okay, you've got that model. These people need to get this information out. They need to get it out. And then we have the corporate model, complete with the golden parachute.
Yeah, right.
The two don't mix. Then you've got shows like Democracy Now! Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, it was.
They raise. They're like a money magnet. They can create incredible amounts of money and then hand it out. But the financial model is admirable. We found out back to the Mark Green era, America's. So you can't find a world in the middle. The green advertisers of the world are not willing to. There's not enough money there to support a growing network with all the affiliates and the station relations and all the infrastructure necessary to do that. Somehow the Rush Limbaughs of the world can do that. I don't know how they do it, but they've created a business model. The world that the reality that they present means everything's okay. Just buy something more. Go out and shop. Everything's going to be just fine.
Okay, where do you go from here now? I mean, where do you go? You say you're not able to do the free speech TV thing. Where do you go? Well, what about the internet or something? Or what do you see happening for alternative notions? And it goes into things that aren't just breaking news necessarily, but also larger issues. We got a friend over here who's in the booth who is the thing where they're almost sure they've got alternative a cure for cancer. How are you going to get that out? That's an issue that is really important. It's being blocked by the pharmaceuticals and the big business. What are the avenues, and what avenues are you exploring for a, what would be called, a renaissance of INN, or what's your pattern? What are the alternatives for people who think in terms of alternative programming? What's your suggestion?
Well, Harold, we've only been off the air a month.
Okay.
We can.
You haven't got it all together totally? Didn't you figure? You had a weekend. You could have figured it out, right? I'm making a joke, son. We
just completely rebuilt the studio downtown.
Good.
Rewired it. Got some new equipment in there. Cleaned it up.
Okay.
Some was donated. A couple of good deals here and there.
Okay, good.
There are several new networks we'd like to go to, but also at the same time, there should be an olive branch going out to Free Speech TV, saying to them, "Why not?" Because we still, as I have said, nobody's gotten a straight answer why it was more important to lose the show than to give us a decent time slot.
Or what are they putting in its place?
It has no relevance what they're putting in its place.
You don't think it has relevance? I mean, what is the reasoning behind their thinking of what the hell they're doing?
And what I'm asking you and what I'm asking your viewers to do is help me find a clear answer to that. And then we can go back to free speech, and then we'll be back in MNN, or at least we'll have an answer. We'll have some closure on this.
Have you got an alternative way to get programming to MNN and have it air, or in other cable access centers that you could do an alternative? Maybe some super jazzed up file transfer protocol. You can just send it out.
Well, there is one.
There are things using the internet as a way of distributing to
the cable access stations.
Okay,
There is a way. There's a PEG Media FTP site for the access stations to put it on. The problem with that is that when you're talking about real-time news delivery, you don't. I mean, I know with the MNN library, you have to submit things a week in advance. I know with things like Current TV, they want a internet submission. They'll review, and they'll review a little quick time. You send them, and then they'll send the media, and a month later it gets on. That's not real good for today's news show.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it's a current. I enjoy being in the news world. I enjoy doing these interviews. The other thing is the way that we were able to get all these great interviews with all these leaders, let's say. Was because we could tell
real
them.
Leaders, real alternative people that are really saying stuff that you just don't get in the other venues.
The reason we were able to do that is we could say, we're on national TV, we're on 200 cable access stations. We can't say that, so I can't go back to those people and say, hey, we're on the internet. Come on over to the studio. I don't think it's going to work. We need to get back on a network. There's, of course, Free Speech. There's another station, WorldLink, I think it's called.
WorldLink, okay.
Yeah, that's another one.
Link TV?
Yeah, Link TV, same thing. And then there's Current TV, and then there's IFC, and there's all these other channels that might take something in, but a lot of them are commercial models. And to fit into a commercial model is very difficult. The PBSs, I think that their requirements are probably a little bit too difficult. See, alternative media is very forgiving. We are so content-driven. We are so driven by the story. We're willing to overlook. That picture looks a little funny back there. Or there's a scratch in the voice. Or there's the littlest things which don't take away from the credibility of the story are not acceptable to the PBS.
Matter of fact, they can lend a nice touch to it. After me, it makes it more real and everything. There's a lot of people looking for that.
Well, we do thank free speech for overlooking little flaws due to financial hardship.
Right.
They were very good about that, but very poor about getting us at our audience. So.
And I keep coming back to what the hell have they put in the place? I mean, what is the vision they have in terms of what they're going to have going out on their system?
And my question is, how do you give Amy money? How do you give Laura money? How do you run them 8 hours a day combined? How do you give us absolutely nothing and you won't even give us a time slot? And how do you expect me to go back to these people and say, please take us back?
And what's the rationale for that? What's the rationale of the business model?
I will lend anybody in your viewing audience my cell phone to call them directly and figure it out.
No.
Because there is no rationale. We were giving it to them because we believed that we could get the information out and that we were a platform for important issues. They said, gee, thanks for the free program. The minute we asked for any respect back, like a good time slot or money or revenue sharing, they went like, we're not going to give it to you. And I said,
maybe they think Amy's relevant in terms of her message or her ideology or the way she sees the world, or Laura is, and you're not. Or they've got something, they say you're relevant,
Harold,
but you're not, and they make a decision like that. You know what I'm saying?
Call and ask.
Well,
because
I would,
I cannot get to the bottom of it. They have said repeatedly to supporters who have called, it's not the content. We love the content.
Yeah, okay.
We like the show. It was a very popular show. We don't
what
feel...
do those two...
We don't
they like
feel,
the content, they like the thing, and the numbers are okay.
And they won't give us anything.
So what are they looking for?
Us to shut up and just keep broadcasting for free. I think that's what they're looking for, but we're not going to do it anymore. We've earned, after 6 years and 100 hours of programming each, 100 hours of programming each year, so over 600 hours of programming for free to Free Speech TV, because we believed in what we're doing. We need something back. And all we asked for was a time slot that was relevant. We didn't even ask for money. I don't think it's right to run us, Amy's third rerun, Laura's show, Amy's fourth rerun, Laura's rerun, then put us in the middle of the night. We're an evening news show, for God's sake.
And not to mention how they come to these decisions in terms of the overall media picture within the United States of America and the world, in terms of what they decide.
Free speech
Why
has a
do we
unique
not get more understanding of what's going on, but just, I mean, in terms of the news that's presented to us, to where there's all kinds of things that we just don't get the alternative story that we should have in order to be well.
We can. Here's what you do. Here's what I want you to do.
We don't get it in the networks. They haven't come up with a system yet. They haven't come up with a system. The whole world is going through a major transformation, a new system. It cries for an alternative kind of view of things, and they don't present it within the normal context. If you understand what I'm saying, what are they looking for? Something that's got some overriding vision or something, or what's needed, and what is it? And how is it going to be presented if we need a qualitative change in terms of the whole operation of the whole planetary system and so forth? You know.
Harold? You need a business model which sustains that. Right now, to start, Paul J. is an interesting person.
Who's Paul J.?
He started The Real News.
Okay.
He was going to be a full network, then he was going to be an evening news show for one of the other networks, and now I think he does an internet broadcast once a week.
Yeah.
He said, I have this great vision. We're going to start the real alternative CNN. It's going to be a combination between CNN and the BBC, and it's going to be investigative first-person reporting, and all I need is $40 million. He went out and raised, I think, $2 or $3 million, and he lives a nice lifestyle, so I guess he got something accomplished. But he didn't raise the $40 million. He took the $2 or $3 million and puts out a couple of reports in the web each week. Good for him, okay? $40 million would have given you a center of operations. It would have given you field reporters. It would have given you salaries. It would have given you equipment and all that. if you want to do it that way, if you want to really create the alternative CNN, well, you don't have to. You see, there's already such a thing. It's called Press TV or Al Jazeera English.
Press TV's going now, yeah. Is it going well, Press TV, or not? That's right. That's financed by Iran, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Al Jazeera is a commercial
Al
business.
Jazeera
English couldn't even get a station in this. A few little places, some of their shows get out there. Very difficult to get placed because
ideological.
Well, ideological, yes, but who are you? If you look at the show Mosaic is
on
an
every day.
Incredible show.
Yeah.
Incredible show.
Yeah, it's linked TV.
Incredible information.
Yeah.
Poor quality production.
Yeah.
Foreign accents.
Yeah.
Young people
Arabs,
speaking about
Arabs, because that's
fine. What I'm saying is,
it used to be the commies that were the bad guys, and now it's the Arabs that are the bad guys
but
in terms of the national ideology.
But the idea is a solution.
Maybe it's nothing more than that. They wouldn't let the commies on the air.
I think that both Democracy Now! And us, we've crafted something. Yeah. We're for the most part, we are Americans. We believe in our country. We understand right from wrong. Yeah. And we're here to try to do the right thing as best we can, or at least with our best judgment.
It's worth listening to Mr. Chomsky once in a while, or Edward Herman, and some of these alternative voices. Yeah.
Chomsky's got a little off the reservation, but that's another story.
Don't say nothing bad about Chomsky. He's a god, an angel, and been there for so long. And so many others.
In either case, when you go out into the heartland, when you go out into the red states, and they see, let's say you take the same story with the same footage. That Mosaic put on the day before, and instead of having it up there with a very strong accent, you have an American anchor like an Amy Goodman or one of our people, or someone
maybe
like
with an Oxford twinge.
Maybe not, and you have them
British
selling this story and then relating the story to how does that fit into the U.S.'s self-image of right, wrong, and justice. The story takes on a much more powerful meaning. Yeah. And that's why Mosaic, I think, doesn't work in the middle of the country. It may work in some communities, but there are so many people out there. You were talking very early on who's with the needle in the haystack model, with internet media fully eclipsing, or soon to eclipse, with media on demand eclipsing traditional VHS broadband television.
Got to wind it up, Lenny.
Oh, we got to wind it.
Almost, I got about 20 seconds to get it all in now. Okay. I think we're coming right up to the end.
Well, you look at that model, and then you see people in the middle of the country still want to see television. Older folks, retirees, still want to get their news from television, and that's where television will live for right now. Yeah. We will be back on the air. The thing I'd like to ask your viewers to do is call Free Speech TV.
Ask them how come.
Somebody get us an answer. Somebody get us a straight answer. Yeah. And we're going to try to find a new network. We may go back. If we get a straight answer, we may go back in a good time slot. We will go back to Free Speech TV.
Okay.
The team is still together. We are on our website, inmworldreport.net. Thank you, Harold.
Thank you, Lenny. Thank you very much for IMN, and we ought to get on that and everything, and all the best. And thank God Walker's still going, and you got some new equipment. Things are moving. Sorry, the travail. It's a very interesting story. Thank you for coming back tomorrow on MNN here in New York City. Thanks a lot.